Hello and welcome to Joy Conversations. My name is Tad Salee, but you can call me Tadbusters. Today we're talking about some more physical media, and with me I have my boys SuitandTyler, and joining us for the first time is Artrix. How you guys doing today?
Doing pretty good.
Sweet. Tyler, how about you?
Doing great.
You guys ready to get into some more physical media?
Let's do it. I'm down.
The more the merrier, right?
The more the merrier, exactly. Well, right now is it's a big hot topic in the industry about physical media going away. If you guys have seen my videos, you know my stance on it. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of digital. I do play digital, but I'm a big physical media collector, obviously. Jumping in, Hayden, I want to start with you. What do you think? Do we actually own the games that we buy anymore?
I want to say yes, but considering everything that's happening over the past week or so, I think it's starting to lean to no, which I hate because I'm also a big physical guy. Like I have a big PS1 and PS2 collection I've told you about. It hurts, because I like having the actual games. I think it's kind of stupid the way that they're kind of going about it now, especially you don't own your games anymore. It's all digital. It's all key cards now, especially with the Switch 2's digital key card system. Excuse me.
It's sad, right? Like the things that we grew up with as kids are non-existent anymore. I hate to see what it looks like for our future kids too. Tyler, jump into you. What do you think about that stance? Do we actually own the games that we buy anymore?
Yeah, it's we don't right now, but we definitely should,
Yeah, exactly.
I look at it like the digital future, not even, this kind of goes beyond video games, is here. A lot of companies and the world in general is moving more onto these digital ecosystems, and therefore our libraries should be just as real as they are physically. And we need to start treating them as such, both from the company side and from everybody around.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my second question. If the full game isn't on the disc or on the cartridge, I guess, is it really a physical release? Take, for example, the recent Halo campaign Evolved that it came out on early access as of a couple days ago, but it's coming out probably by the time you see this video. Hayden, I'll drop that to you. If the full game isn't on the disc or the cartridge, I guess, is it really a physical release?
Absolutely not. No. There's no debating that. You're getting the game box and that's it. I don't really know what else to say to that. Let's just no.
Yeah. Totally.
I know Rockstar has a very different answer for that.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Is that a code in the box that's going to be coming with?
There's going to be no disc for that one. At least at launch, they say maybe later. Probably not.
No. I mean, with as much money they're going to make day one, they're probably going to make more money day one than most video game companies make in their entire lifetime. So do you think they're really going to consider making a disc after all that? Probably not, unfortunately.
Probably not, no. It would also depend on how big the game is too, and considering the scale that GTA 6 is going to be, I'd imagine it'd be hard to fit it on a disc, especially for say Xbox Series S or whatever.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point, because I remember Red Dead Redemption 2 came with 2 discs.
This is true, yeah.
They could totally do it if they wanted to.
They could totally do it, yeah.
Yeah, they just want to save the money, that sweet green. Yeah, it's really sad, because I want to show my kids, these games. I want to be that uncle or grandpa at that point that shows up.
Uncle, yeah.
The cool uncle. Back in my day, we used to have physical games on the PS2.
In my day, we had to put the disc in the console.
Dad's going to be an uncle to his own kids.
I could be both. I'll be known as uncle because of my ideologies with physical media, but then I'll be grandpa in age.
Oh, yeah.
So for game key cards, jumping over to the Switch and coding the box releases, which typical, with Grand Theft Auto and with Halo, are those misleading customers?
Well, yeah, for sure. They have the label on the box, but it's so small to the point where it's super missable. I feel like that's very misleading, especially nowadays with how much they're trying to fit on game covers, like GTA 6, for example, as well. You know how cluttered that game cover is. They have to put the label somewhere, and they always just stick it right at the bottom where people aren't looking. So it's like, how am I supposed to know that without looking at it for a good second, Especially if I'm a window shopper, for example, right?
Yeah, grandma's not going to know. She's going to pick up Grand Theft Auto 6.
I was about to bring up the grandma example, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes misleading too, intentionally so, I feel, because there's so many casual buyers that will go to the store, pick that up, and not understand the situation, not understand what any of those words actually mean, what that logo means, and then kind of be stuck with this key card and it's already bought. And return policies are stricter and stricter on these physical games, and then they're just kind of confused and out of luck.
No, I mean, Tyler, you bring up a good point, and I'm curious because I don't know this, but say grandma picks up GTA 6 and she brings it home, gives it to her, grandson, and he inserts it, plays it, but it's within the return window. I guess if it's unsealed and the code has been redeemed, how is Walmart going to know? I mean, I know that they're pretty strict on if the game is opened. There are some stores that I know will allow a certain routine where you can return the game even if it's been opened. I guess for GTA 6, that's just probably not going to happen. Most retailers are going to say, sorry, we can't give you your money back.
Yeah. I mean, my experience has always been like, even on a disc, the second that seal is cracked, they kind of just don't let you return it. But
so, Hayden, I'll drop this to you. Does physical media still matter if a game requires patches, downloads, or online servers?
I do believe that it does, because I grew up with a game called Toontown Online. It was an old Disney MMO back in like the early 2000s, and that got shut down in 2013, yet it's still ongoing because of fan servers. So like the original source material obviously matters, but whether the publishers, the developers handle it right is the big issue, which in Toontown's case, it got shut down way too early. But
R.I.P. R.I.P. Toontown. That was a great game. I used to play it too.
That was my childhood, bro.
And same with, did you guys see that Pirates of the Caribbean Online is coming back too? Like a fan-made...
Oh, I did hear about that, yeah.
I saw Black Flag, and we're like, we got to come back. We got to take the crown back.
We got to set sail once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pirates are back in, baby. I mean, we got, Assassin's Creed.
Windrose is huge, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Windrose
right.
was a big one for multiplayer.
And then, did you guys ever try Black Flag?
I did, yeah.
Was that any good?
I don't remember if it was good. I think I was too young to be playing it, or too young to remember.
You're talking about the original Black Flag?
Yeah.
Well, there's a new one that came out a couple years ago. What is it called? Is it?
Oh, Skull and Bones. That's what you're thinking.
Skull and Bones.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tyler.
Oh, yeah, that
Okay.
one sucked. See, I couldn't remember what it was called, right?
Yeah, it kind of stripped out everything good about Black Flag.
For me, I'm somebody that doesn't. I don't know. I'm shouting at the clouds, but I will not play a game usually if it doesn't have a physical release. But oftentimes I'll double down and I'll pick something up on Steam if it's really cheap. So I haven't had the time to really jump into a lot of games that are just digital only. And if they did ever come to physical, I would totally pick it up. So, and that kind of leads me into my next question. I'll throw it to you, Hayden, again. Do you think that publishers can be trusted to preserve their own games?
Well, I mean, the Toontown example, no, definitely not. I mean, can like piracy or like game preservation, it's all the fans keeping those games up and keeping the history of those games alive. So I think it's more of the fans. Unfortunately, it's more of the fans' responsibility. It really should be the developers or the publishers, but it's proving to not be that, especially over the last few years. Concord, for example, that was up for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, PlayStation wants you to forget about that real fast. You gotta write it off
too soon.
Yeah,
We're not going to forget.
Yeah. Everybody bring it back. We got to write it off in our taxes.
Yep.
So this game can't exist.
So they released a physical of Concord briefly, and I had that. And then when they shut it down, copies were going for $300 on eBay. And I was so bummed because I remember returning it to Target and I was like, this game is getting shut down. They were like, you can't really return a used game. I was like, well, you gave me a game that's shutting down. So they
necessarily their fault though, right?
No, it's not their fault, but they were willing to I guess give me my refund. And then I went back and I was like, hey, so I gave you a game, can I have it back? And they're like, definitely not.
So about that dead game.
So about that dead game. I just want a coaster. I just want to use it for, putting my glass of water down on my coffee table. So, yeah, and I think, there are some publishers that are obviously, I think, going to be better than others, right?
Yeah.
Tyler, what do you think, who is a good example of somebody that might be bad, minus Rockstar, that we could trust to actually preserve their own games?
I think there's a good yearning for it, especially from Japanese developers, it seems. I mean, with all this going on, I see a lot of Kojima and various Capcom developers speaking out about this. So it seems like developers from Japan might be the ones pushing it, which is ironic because PlayStation is also the one killing it, who's from Japan. But the developers themselves seem to be kind of against it and might be the best way to push back. When it comes to trusting right now, you're talking about games that you don't play many digital games unless like they're digital only games. You want to kind of focus on the physical ones. And I look at like places like Limited Run and various other like third market kind of ones that focus on the indie developers and bring their games up in physical. I'm like, that might be the hope, is more of these companies kind of grabbing these games and being like, if you're not going to do it, we will. Maybe there's a market for that in the future if we can't trust Rockstar, Ubisoft, or whoever to keep going with this.
Yeah, totally. Hayden, what do you think? Who can we trust?
Agree. I would say Nintendo because of like the Nintendo Online stuff, but even then, they're not re-releasing all of their like big hitters that people are wanting like re-releases of or remakes of. So it's, I don't know, kind of a shot in the air, I guess.
Yeah, the hard part is it seems like all these big companies on the top are totally okay with it. The big deal is that PlayStation was kind of the last holdout versus Nintendo doing the virtual game cards and Xbox pretty much bowing out a long time ago.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, and this was a question that I didn't have, but I was going to ask at some point here. Do we think that Xbox could do a 180 with everything going on with PlayStation and come forward and be like, you know what, you guys, we saw the demand for physical media, all the hate going towards Sony. We're bringing back discs. You can expect Helix to have a disc player, and we're going to go all in on physical media. What do you think the chances are on that? I'll let either of you guys answer.
I mean, it could happen, but considering how much Microsoft and Xbox have been shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over and over the last few years, it seems unlikely.
They haven't done that.
Yes, they have. Don't lie to me.
They're shooting themselves in the foot so much. I don't know if there's a foot to shoot anymore.
They're going for the leg now.
yeah. It's going up and up.
They're aiming up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just hobbling along on two sticks at this point, just being like, all right, which is it, right leg or is it left leg? I think we're at a higher chance probably now than we were a month ago about talking about physical releases from Xbox. And that's just because of the new leadership over there at Xbox, right? They seem to be, at least from face level, they seem to be more in tune with their more nostalgic player base. You know, they brought back Halo, that's releasing. They're bringing back all these big games, you know, all the ones that we love. You know, we can expect more sequels. And it seems like they're doubling down mostly on sequels and less of new IPs. So I would see that it could be a possibility, but, you know, we're talking 2 years from now. Things could change. The temperature could change. And Sony, you know, let this announcement out knowing that this was going to have this type of backlash to get us warmed up to that in 2 years. Microsoft is just waiting for the storm to kind of crash down before they release it on their own, I'm assuming, probably in a tweet. And then people will be like, we expected this.
My one answer with all that is Xbox kind of answered this for everybody with the recent news that original Xbox games are now going to be able to be played on PC digitally. Like I feel like that was their which is pretty cool, but also that kind of tells me like, hey, we're slowly kind of going more into the PC digital direction. Like I think that's what the future is for Xbox, and that direction's already kind of laid in stone. And if they're as desperate for money as they seem to be right now with a lot of the cuts and everything, like, and how much they've been hit, how many times their foot has been shot, they need to make money some way. And if PlayStation's sitting here being like, well, this is cost cutting measures, this is that, it's like they're probably going to lean on the one that saves them money, even if it's a granular amount. I don't have a lot of hope for Xbox changing their mind, but I think it'd be an easy win if they did.
But it's up to us. So dropping this question, Hayden, I'm going to throw this to you. So YouTubers, modders, collectors, and documentarians becoming gaming's official historians, would you say that that's true? Are we responsible for this instead of publishers?
In a sense, yeah, it should still fall on the publishers for doing that, but considering how much of an influence like YouTubers and Twitch/Kick streamers have had over the years, especially in like the gaming scene with newer releases, they're pretty much the promoters, if anything. So I feel like it kind of goes hand in hand, but YouTubers and streamers have been doing the heavy lifting for like the past decade or so, especially with like the indie scene as well.
No, yeah, totally. I mean, you know, when my kids ask about what was playing Concord like, Dad, and
everyone's dying
I say,
to know.
Yeah, everyone's dying to know.
I'm not a kid. I'm dying to know.
And I show them some YouTube videos. They're gonna be like, wow, what a time that we missed out in.
Yeah, what a 2-week period we missed out on.
I was one that actually liked Concord too. I was itching for like some multiplayer first-person shooter at the time, and that kind of just scratched the itch. Just
You were the only person I've ever heard say this before. This is new to me.
I realize I am one of the few people that have this take.
You're like one of 7 in the whole world.
Yeah, no. If they ever make a documentary about Concord and its downfall, I'll be one of the 3 people that they have on is like they enjoyed this game. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think YouTubers have we're gonna do it regardless if we have any responsibility to do it. I mean, obviously it's a part of our job and
yeah, I was about to say that.
You guys like doing this for fun. Like this is something that we enjoy because we're gamers, and so it's enjoyable. Jumping over to kind of the piracy industry, which we've seen a whole lot of people talking about. If buying isn't owning, then stealing isn't piracy, right? That's the saying, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty much,
So
yeah.
is piracy then justified when there's no longer a legal way to purchase a game? By all means, this won't be held up in court.
So when a game is no longer legally able to be purchased or downloaded anywhere, it's considered abandonware. So it's not actually piracy to download those games if there's no legal way to. Like Manhunt 2, for example, I had to pirate that to get it on my computer because there's no legal way to get it unless I'm ordering like a Russian version of it on eBay for $150, which I have no way in hell doing. I don't have the money for that. I'm a YouTuber. I'm going to college. Like, hello, I'm not doing that. So yeah. And like push comes to shove, I'll buy a copy for like the sake of having it. But if I'm doing it just to play the game, just to see what it's like, if it's an indie title, I'll pirate it. And then like if I like the game, I'll go and buy it to show support. Right. But if there's no legal way to get the game, like you kind of have to pirate it. There's no way of circumventing that unless you want to spend copious amounts of money on it, which I don't have, so.
Wow, I didn't know that. So Manhunt 2, so you're saying, so that's not available, at least, the PS2 version?
You can, so there's different categories for it, obviously, but like the PC version in particular, you can't get legally anymore. Like I have a physical version of the PSP version. That wasn't hard to find.
Oh, the PSP version.
The PSP, yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't find a PS2 version, so I settled for the worst one.
I thought you were going to say the Wii version. I didn't even realize Manhunt 2 was on PSP.
I'm curious, why the PS2 version? Because I'm not super familiar with the Manhunt scene. What's different between the Wii version and the PS2 version?
There isn't anything different between the Wii and PS2 versions except for like forced motion controls, but the console versions and the PC version have like different censorship. Like in the executions on the console versions, they'll throw a bunch of like vomit-inducing filters on screen to kind of mask what you're doing, but you're still stabbing the syringe in the guy. Like it's not really masking much. And then on the PC version, it's fully uncut. So I mean, that's also why the PC version never. To my knowledge, never came out. I might be wrong on that, but it was going to be adults only at a certain point, which kind of halted everything for it.
No kidding. So are you aware, did they ever make a physical release here in the US for PC on Manhunt?
Manhunt 1, yes. I'm not sure about Manhunt 2. There might be PC versions. I'm not too knowledgeable on that. I'm more knowledgeable on Manhunt 1.
Yeah, I mean, Manhunt 1 is pretty accessible still.
Yeah, right. Well, that brings up a good point. I mean, physical media is going to go up in price, most likely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
So by 2029, let's say, so a year after we're in kind of the ecosystem of having just digital-only games for the newest generation, do you guys see, physical media for PS5 and below jumping up in price either dramatically, or is it going to be a gradual increase, or is it going to stay the same?
I feel like it's going to be how the 3DS prices were, where like when the Switch came out and everything kind of dipped for a bit, and then once everything got discontinued, it skyrocketed tenfold. Like, I'm sitting on a gold mine, I've realized, over the last year or so. Like, especially with all the old Pokemon games that I have, bro, I can sell all those and pay for, like, a full tuition.
Yeah, had we known.
Game collecting in general is just kind of up and up on the rise. I wouldn't be surprised that PS5 gets like that.
I chose the most expensive hobby to join in.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's golf. There's a lot more, too. But,
I mean, I meant, like, you know what I meant.
I don't know. It feels like with the pricing of price, it's like kind of getting priced out of our favorite hobby.
It's getting ridiculous.
Like, this wasn't meant to be a boutique thing, at least when I jumped in, Like,
I look at it like I could be going out to the bars and spending $60 on drinks, for a temporary, 3 hours of entertainment. But I can buy Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Granted, that's not all on the disc. I can purchase that and have up to 60 to 100 hours of entertainment for $60 to $70.
You could even go to the bar in that game and drink then.
There we go. I could buy a thing of beer and drink in the game while I'm drinking and save money still. There we go.
That's the method right there. That's what the publishers don't want you to know about.
Yeah.
Jumping over to publishers, do we think that they should be required to provide an offline version before shutting down game servers? I know we've started to see that in the industry, but it's not highly enforced. Do you think if we go the full digital route, that they will issue mandates that they have to have an offline version available to gamers?
I don't see it happening, but I really want it to be the case because, again, the Toontown example, like it was like I lost my childhood game for a couple of years. Like that hurt me in my soul. And I can imagine Overwatch, for example, the first one before they made it free for some reason. I have the physical version of it, but I can't do anything with it anymore, and it goes for dirt cheap. So I'm just sitting with a disc that's never going to go in my console again. So I feel like they should at least have some sort of way to host private servers for the games, even if they shut off the official servers. I feel like it's kind of a waste at a certain point.
Totally. So what happens if you put in Overwatch 1 into your Xbox? Will it start up?
It starts, but it just gives a server error.
Take it back to Target, man.
You want to spend $60 on a title screen because that's what you have now. Like,
I mean, I miss the bot system that used to be in almost every multiplayer game. I was actually learning about this recently with the new Black Ops port they did, that it doesn't have the bots that are original from the original version. Apparently that's because I guess that was an update later, but like, and this is built off like the very first like 1.0 version. It's like indicative of like, I don't think they have any incentive to add that in unless there's massive demand for it at this point. And you see like tons and tons of games that just forego bots and don't want to go down that route, which I think is like a good step to preserving multiplayer games, especially like PvP ones, let alone like the classic, like The Crew, for example, that got completely shut off because of it was always online. And I want to see that push happen more and more. I guess it's on us in a way to bully these companies until they actually do it.
Exactly. The best way to word that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even with like change.org, petitions.
Those aren't going to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see their support for it. I mean, you take the change.org example for physical media with Sony right now. They probably looked at it once or twice, but are they counting the numbers like, oh man, it's at 500,000. Oh man, we really ought to change.
They're hearing the outcry that's going through one ear and out the other. Like they do that every time.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's a point which they have to, right? Like if it hits 1 billion, are we at that point where they're like, okay, like what is that number for them that they're like, oh man, okay, we really ought to reconsider this.
The world is mad at us. What did we do?
Yeah, I unfortunately just don't think. I mean, it's sad because the discussion about, especially with Sony, with the physical media, you would see people bullying Sony all the time, and I love it. I enjoy it. I go onto their Twitter and I'm like, this feels good,
Oh my God, I'm surprised that one tweet of yours blew up as much as it did.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a shock for me, and just throwing this out there, I've told Tyler, but like I edited that on my phone. I shot it in like an hour on my phone, and the videos that I'll spend 3 weeks working on, just this one is the one that happened to blow up. I'm very happy for it, but it's just so odd.
I know that feeling. Up until recently, I knew that feeling all too well.
Yeah, it's like, well, what's the point anymore? I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I would like a month into a YouTube video, and then some bullshit Instagram reel would get 1.5 million. I'm like, all right, man, I'm in the wrong market apparently.
Yeah. I'm going back to iPhone videos.
I'm going back to re-uploading stolen memes that I got off of my Discord server from 2020.
So looking 20 years from now, what do you guys think? This is my last question. Will today's games be easier or harder to access? We're talking about 2045, 2046.
Yeah, I mean, think about like it from the perspective of 20 years ago. Think about how hard those games are to come by nowadays. Like, I'd imagine it's only going to get worse.
Unfortunately.
Not maybe not with the PS5, considering how much that sold, but I'd imagine 50 years it would probably be harder to find at that point. I don't know. PS5 sold so many units that it's like insurmountable to me at this point. I can't even comprehend how much that sold. So I'd imagine that would still be in the running, especially because like the Wii also had kind of that long stand after its demise. So I'd imagine PS5 would probably have that same kind of fate. But every other console, like PS4 in particular, will probably in the next 20 years be hard to come by, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? It comes with time.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of like reconcile with of like where this will be in the future, because you want it to be like lasting forever. And you would think that at this point that like they kind of worked out. Like I'm more forgiving of them back in the day when it was all physical and they were just like, this thing's going to be on shelves for a couple of months and then it's done. We can have a license for this song for a year. Who cares? And then it goes away. And like losing games in that way back then, I'm like more forgiving of, but I feel like we've been in this digital ecosystem for so long and this industry has only grown and grown so much, so fast that we need to sort this out already.
Like they don't have an excuse now. Like back then they did.
And I really, that's where I really feel like right now is a fascinating turning point of like how the audience is going to end up reacting to these changes and what these companies do in response that can secure those futures better. And also like, again, I talk about like the world just moving in a more digital ecosystem. Like it kind of becomes a bigger where it's like how the government gets involved and what laws need to be kind of in place to protect us in this digital world from all these companies, not just PlayStation, not just Nintendo, not just Xbox.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to remember, and I try to tell myself this, but this isn't the first time we've been through this. There have been console generations before that have said, I remember with the latest Xbox and the I think it was a PS4, they were saying that that's not going to come with a disc drive. And everybody was saying that it's not going to have a disc drive. There's going to be no way to play your physical games. Just expect it. And that was 10 years ago now. So I hope that this is a part of that same kind of just, hubbub where it's like, yeah, we're shouting at something because of nothing. And Sony's really just waiting to see about the response to test the waters. Okay, people still really hate the idea of full digital games. We'll back off. Maybe the PS7 will reintroduce it and we'll make it mandatory. This might be a way for them to kind of just test the waters, see what the temperature is. Clearly people are pissed off, but I unfortunately don't think Sony's going to backtrack on their decision here. It seems like they would have at this point. It's been a month.
Oh my God, it's been a month already?
Yeah, it's been a month, and like every single one of their tweets and decisions, even their indie publishers and partners are getting harassed online, which like that's not a part of their decision, and I'm not for that, but it is going to put pressure on Sony at some point to say something. I know I said the last question, but I was thinking about this before we started. Do you guys think that there's a possibility that Sony does say, hey, listen, we heard what you guys said, and we are going to come up with a solution. The solution is either we're going to have a disk drive that you can buy as an extra peripheral. We will have at least 5 titles released a year come out physically, and we will allow our third-party publishers to make that decision themselves. Is that even a possibility today?
Very, very slim chance.
This is unusually long. I would have thought that they would have at least said something by now. And even like your rumblings of how Xbox wants to have their build this system where you can put your physical games in and basically digitize it for your account. Even with rumblings of that, still not a peep from PlayStation. I think they're trying to weather this storm. And you look at like when they announced it and the timing compared to now, like right around that 4th of July time in between bad Xbox news, they tried their best to bury this as best they could.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess it's almost been a month. We're pretty close. We're coming up on the month then. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be an interesting future to see what happens. I really want to make a documentary about this whole debacle and like find a way to sneak into Sony's headquarters and see what the rumblings look like. And you just see everybody stressed out with their hands on their head and like papers are flying. But it's probably
if you need an editor for that, I'm all ears.
I might hit you up for it. So I'm going to hit this off to you guys listening. What do you guys think about this? Is it the publisher's responsibility to preserve physical video games and everything else that we've talked about here? Leave in the comments down below. And as always, go and subscribe to these guys. Hayden, where can people find you at?
You can find me at youtube.com/ @AA Artrix. Just Artrix was already taken. I'm going to find that guy. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm assuming you're going to leave it in the description as well, right? You can find me there.
Yeah. Go and check him out. He makes some really awesome content. If you like Postal, if you like Manhunt, if you like any adult video games from our childhood, go and check it out down below. And Tyler, how about you? Where are you at?
You can find me at SuitandTyler on YouTube, making various gaming-related content and such.
And if you guys don't mind, leave a subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Like the video. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Be kind, play on. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.